So my name's Fiona Boyle. I'm currently the treasurer of the Rye Community Group, and we're based outside Rathmullen and outside Ramelton as well. Our community organisation came about in 1986. We initially found that there was a lacking of facilities for young people, so it was initially called the Rye Youth Athletic Club. And I suppose the purpose was really to provide a sporting field, a football pitch, for the young people of the area. So yeah, that's how we came about. That was 30 years ago now. So I suppose it initially started off with a football pitch, and then there was some funding after a couple of years, and dressing rooms were built, and it sort of stayed quite stagnant for a number of years. And then in 2002 the local public house and post office closed due to the death of the local publican, and that was really the heart of the community, and there was a shop attached to it as well, so that was sort of the meeting place of all the different generations. And then whenever that closed, there seemed to be the need for a facility. So we used to host sports days in the football pitch here locally every year, and there was a consultation done in 2003, a community consultation done, and at that stage it was asked, what do you feel would be appropriate to have in the area? And a unanimous number came back to say certainly a community type centre, a community type building, toilet facilities, and also activities for all generations. So then based on that, within the next couple of years we started to use an old school about a mile up the road, your traditional 2-room school, and it was very basic. There was no running water, there was no toilet facilities, and we started running things like Christmas parties, Halloween parties, and we had all generations coming to it. So you had the parents coming to it with the small children, and then you had the grandparents coming to it as well, and then we realised we could actually start to run some classes. So we started off running some classes up there, but again, because we didn't own the building and because the facilities were quite poor, we could only take small numbers. So then probably towards 2005, 2006, we looked at the idea of maybe purchasing the old school, but it belonged to the church, and we couldn't afford to purchase it at that stage. So then over the next couple of years we started to get bigger and bigger, and then we took the decision to look about funding for a community centre. So we were quite naive at the time, so I was the chairperson and my colleague Antoinette was the secretary. Neither of us had ever applied for a big funding. We had small funding grants from the lottery, which the applications were relatively simple to complete, whereas we applied to Leader for funding, which was an arduous task. But I have to say it was very much a learning experience, because once you do it once, a lot of what you do in that big application can then be transferred to other applications. And the fact that you have to get so much information for that one application, you tend to use that information at other times then when you're applying for other grants. For the community centre. So we initially, whenever we applied to Leader for funding, and we had very good partnership with the local DLDC, and there was a few of the staff members there who were very supportive to us because they knew how much novices we were. And what they informed us of is that there would be funding available for a multi-purpose hall, but not for a community centre. So we decided then to go around the local area and within the county to find out from other centres what they did. So there's very much that consultation process and the collaborativeness. So we went to a number of different centres and we found out, first of all, what they did very well and what they would do again, but also asking them, if you had your time over again, what would you change about that? So there was a number of things. So certainly things like storage was a huge issue that they brought to our attention, which we wouldn't have thought of, I have to say. And I suppose also then maybe the types of activities that could be hosted as well. So we had an idea of what we felt, both from I suppose feedback from the community members and also our own thoughts, because we're community members. We had a number of activities that we were planning to use, and then that just added more. So when we could see what other groups were doing and what worked well, and the learning from them, that certainly helped us to develop ourselves into what we've become today. Okay, so we're very much cradle to the grave. So we have, from the younger age group, we have the outdoor preschool that we're currently in. which we love. We also do a parent and toddler group. We have Irish dancing classes for young kids and older kids. We do a Children on the Move programme, which is physical activity for national school children. We then also do Teenagers on the Move, Men on the Move, I don't know if you've heard of it or not, and also Women on the Move. So we've got everybody in the move in Rye. We do circuit classes. We did a lot of activity classes promoting good health and good positive mental health as well. We also have a good relationship with the ETB, so we would run various courses like photography classes, crochet classes. We've done genealogy classes. We do we kind of put it out to community members as to what they would be interested in, and if we have enough people interested, we source a tutor, and we try to source a tutor that we know is good at what they do, and then once we have that tutor in place, we advertise it, and once we've got the numbers, we will then run a class. We also do, for the older members of the community, we have a social dancing here every Saturday night. It's finished now for the summer, but certainly from September right through to May, there's social dancing. And we've hosted weddings. We had a lovely wedding here last year. People came back from Australia, America, New Zealand, the UK for a family wedding, and it had in the centre. And we have another wedding happening now at the end of July. We've hosted a humanist funeral here. We've had month's mind masses. We've had different types of parties, birthday parties, christenings, communions, confirmations. So very much a social masses, all religions. So yeah, anything that could be run, we try to run. It's very much the heart of the community, and that was what was very much pronounced whenever Paddy's the bar closed. That was what was felt, that the heart of the community had actually been taken away. Whereas this has been very much I suppose a more natural, organic heart of the community. Whereas this is where people, I was talking to one of my colleagues yesterday, and she was saying, like, there's nothing associated with Rye, as in it's not around a school, it's not around a church, it's not around anything. It's actually just, it's the community centre itself is the heart. And it's the community centre that's actually driving people into it. It's the type of activities, it's the welcoming feel that people get whenever they come there. And also the fact that we really promote, try to reduce social social isolation, and also this is not a very prosperous area of Donegal, so we have a lot of families who would be struggling, particularly post-recession. So our activities are either as much as possible at no cost or at minimal cost, and we never charge any more than €5 for an activity at the centre. A number of challenges. I suppose the group itself, it would be that the structure of the committee is actually getting people involved to lead out on this and keeping people involved. We've been very fortunate that we've had good numbers. A challenge we had was we had the same committee members for a good number of years there, and it seemed to work fine, but I suppose there were some people who were wanting to move on, and we were always looking for fresh ideas. And we're very fortunate. In the last probably 5 years, I would say we've had 7 new committee members, and they generally have been people who've actually moved to the area, and they wouldn't have had any connection to the area, but they've moved to the area because they like what this is. It's a rural area, there's community feel to it, there's facilities available to them, and that's drawn them in, and that's part of the reason why some of them have said they've bought their houses here. So I suppose when we had been using the old school, the thing we realised was that we could only ever have one activity in that room at one time, and there was demand. As in any centre, in the evening times there's always a number of groups that want to use the centre. So we applied to Leader for the funding, and they were telling us that we could get funding for a multi-purpose hall, but that there wouldn't be funding available for a community centre. So we took the decision as a committee to actually do plans for a community centre, accept the funding for the multi-purpose hall, but actually make a bigger shell, so that over the years we would then develop it. We weren't quite expecting to develop it so quickly, but in order to do that, we were struggling to get the initial seed funding to start off. So we approached community members, and we got 20 community members who loaned us €3,000 each, because they believed in what we did. Lots of them were family and friends, lots of them were committee members, but it was people who actually could see the need for the community centre, and also they believed in the committee and the organisation that was behind it, and they could see that the purpose was for the benefit and the good of the community. So we then built the community centre. It was a long, arduous task, but we built the community centre, and it opened in 2012. So I suppose going back to the early days, so around 2002 we developed, so there was a bit of a lull in the committee for a number of years, and then we kind of revamped again around the time Paddy's closed, and we developed a newsletter. So we actually had a physical paper newsletter that we used to deliver to the houses in the area 4 times a year. So that was us letting them know that there is an organisation and that we've got plans. We hadn't planned to do the community centre at that stage, but just that there is activities available, and we would love to get people to come along and meet and greet and all of that. And then as time went on, we've developed our advertising and our marketing strategy. So we now have our own notes in all the local newspapers. We have our own website. We also do our Facebook. We've got a very proactive PRO, Marie, and also our administration person, Liam, is heavily involved in the PRO side of it as well. So we're constantly putting it out there as to what's available. We're also constantly looking for new ideas. So we're letting people know what's happening. It's all above board and all out in the open. And we're also asking for people to get involved or to come with ideas as to what because the centre was built by the people. It was funded by the people. So we were looking for funding, and we had to raise about €120,000, and that was done around 2009, 2010, 2011, when just the recession had just hit. So people were very generous. So we have a number of things that are, I suppose we've got a couple of anchor tenants first of all. So we've got the preschool here. We've also got a local basketball club, Mulroy Hoops, and they would use the centre every Friday night, and that's from about 5 o'clock until 9:30. We actually supported that group, so they were starting off, and we actually gave them the community centre for the first year for free, because they were a volunteer organisation as well, and as were we, and some of our kids were actually coming to that activity. So we took the decision to allow them that year of grace whereby they could actually develop themselves, and now they've become an anchor tenant, so it's actually worked in our favour. We also have a Men on the Move programme, which has been very successful. We had 88 men turn up the first night to find out about an activity programme for men, particularly for men over 35. And because the numbers are so high in that, that's generating a good bit of income. And then we've lots of every other programme, all the Move programmes, the dancing programmes. We have the likes of the ETB would use facilities quite often, the local schools would use it quite often, not just the national schools, also the secondary schools. And this is the quiet time of the year because it's the summer, but come September we'll be getting phone calls as to is it free for such and such a date, and so yeah, it's extremely busy. But again, it's because all age groups are being catered for. Very much sustainable, yeah. The 20 people who loaned us €3,000 way back, which was meant to be a 1-year short-term loan, but they knew it wasn't going to be. We have 5 of those left to pay back. So that's the only debt that we have on the centre at the moment. And we actually pay back 2 of those every year. And they're more than happy to wait for the money. So other than that, we take in more money than we pay out. So we can pay the bills, no problem. And pay the $6,000 every year as well. Hopefully, I think it's one of those things where you don't want to take your foot off the pedal. It still takes a lot of hard work. We've got a number of aspirations for the future. So we are currently looking at our governance training, and we've actually, in partnership again with the DLDC, they're providing us with a facilitator. So we're looking at how we do operate, and we know we do some things very well, but we also know there's a lot of room for improvement, and you can always learn. We also are developing a community garden out the back. We plan to look for charitable status. We're also looking about setting up a youth group so that the young people of the area can get involved in the committee, so that they can be supported and nurtured, and then they can become the leaders then of the future. And then we've got a tennis court that we're developing out there as well. And then anything else that people would like us to look for. So we're always looking for funding opportunities. Not just because the funding opportunity is there, it's more so about wanting to develop what people want rather than just because you have a funding opportunity to get something. So it's actually creating something for the area that you know will be of benefit to the area. Very well, actually. We've got great relationships with the local communities. Some of our community members here are actually members also of the Rathmullen Way Forward group. So they're very much looking at the whole tourist aspect and developing the seaside town, and obviously that's the nearest town to us, so we're very heavily involved and most of our kids are at that school. Also we do a lot of collaboration with them, so we, for example, we had planned to open a youth club here whenever we started. But because there was one started in Rathmullen, we would never create another venture of somebody else is actually doing it. So as a result of that, they now come to us once a month. So they spend 3 weeks down in Rathmullen and once a month up here as well. And that's working out very well. Also, we would support if there's anything happening. Ramelton Community Centre had an issue a number of years ago where they had a flooding experience. So we offered then our services for it. So it's very much everybody helps each other out. It's very supportive. Yeah. I suppose with the work that we're doing at the moment with the governance training, one of the things that we have learned, I suppose, is that it would be a good idea at the start perhaps to try and target key community members who may already have skills in certain areas. So whether it be in finance, whether it be in architecture or health and safety, that those skills that they have naturally in their day job could then be utilised within the community group, because that we've got there, but we've got there quite a long, arduous journey, and there's lessons from that, but there's times where sometimes it would be nice to get things done a bit easier. So that certainly would be one of the lessons that we've learned. Also, I suppose it's important to keep the committee fresh as well, so it's very much about making sure that everybody's got a chance to have a voice. There's obviously some more experienced members in the committee than there is, and there's also some new members, so it's making sure that the new members feel supported and that they feel that they are allowed to express their voice, whether it be against what the general consensus is. It's important that everybody has a chance to verbalise it, and we're very democratic, and yeah, so and it's a nice place to be, and very energetic, and we have fun, which is a big part of it. Our meetings are very productive, but we always have a laugh, so it's great.